In the previous video, we worked out the totals of various columns and rows, and so I've cleaned up my spreadsheet now so that you can see test 1, test 2, and the oral have their totals at the end of the column. In this video, though, we're going to start looking at averages. How do we find out the average, which is probably more useful, of these tests than the total? So I'm going to make sure that the average appears in the cell directly under the total. So in this case, for test 1, I'm looking at C20. But let's give it a little label so we know what it is. I'm going to merge and center, and then I'm going to say that this will be the average, and I want it to also be bold, and let's line it up with the other one, so I've made it justified right. But now there's no quick button like there was for AutoSum, so we're going to have to actually write the formula in. So make sure the cell is selected where you want the answer to appear, and in that cell you need to type in the function. This is the average function, and then I need to say what is the range of cells. Now we do that inside brackets, so I'm going to open my brackets and I'm going to put in the cell reference of the first one, which is C4, and then I'm going to say it must then stretch to the last one, which will be C18. Now we put in a semicolon to show that it's a range. We say C18, and then we close brackets. And just before I push the enter button, it shows me on the screen whether or what my range is, and I can see that's correct. So now I can say enter, and I get the answer. I get that the average for test 1 was 32.73. Now you might say, well, there's plenty decimal places. Can't we have it a bit tighter than that? And you can now right click it and say format the cells, and I am interested in the number. I want the number to be to only 2 decimal places, and you can say OK, and so now you can see it's 32.73. Now because you've done it once, you don't have to now repeat that for each of the other 2 columns. So you can say, therefore, just copy it across. And when you do that now, it'll adjust the cell formulas. If we now look at column D, we can see that it says, give me the average from D4 to D18. And if we look at the oral, which is in column E, you can see it's adjusted it for E4 to E18. So it is quite clever in knowing what you might want. So I'm going to now bold those so we can see that they're not the actual test values, but they are actually the average. Hopefully after the last video, you've probably guessed that averages could be worked across rows as well as at the bottom of columns, just like totals were in the previous example. And it works the same way. So you would find where you would like the answer to appear, put in the same function, which is at average, and then give the range of cells which need to be averaged. So in this case, I want to work out from C4 to, and then now it's E4. So it's 4 stays the same because it's the row's name. And we can say enter, and sure enough, there is the average of the 3 tests. Now it doesn't really mean much to us because they were out of different amounts, but just to demonstrate that you can work averages across, and you can also copy them as well. So again, like we did previously, grab that little square box in the bottom right hand corner of the cell and then drag down to where you would like the average to appear, and it'll work out them out for you as so.